Welcome, everyone. We are again back with the HR Tech Lions podcast. And today I have with me Mike Griffin from TRAFFIT. And I look forward to this episode because it's going to be very different from the others. The title is Tired of Losing Candidates. This is Julio, as usual, your host. But Mike, word to you.
Thank you so much for the invite. I was like super excited. You popped up on my LinkedIn one day, and I was like, "Wow!" Like, hey, I'm excited, and yeah, like I love the title. We chatted about this already. Super happy to be involved, and yeah, really interested to have the chat today.
Amazing. And sorry, just to properly introduce you, I believe you're the head of sales of TRAFFIT, right? Chief
Yeah,
Revenue
exactly,
Officer.
exactly. So yeah, like my role at TRAFFIT is growth. So I love this story because my experience has always been kind of sales and marketing in tech, but never in HR. So I kind of came into TRAFFIT, and what happened was, while I was learning the product and the market inside the company, I took over culture. And so I've had a lot of I've been able, because I always think that you've got to be your own business card. If we're going to be in the HR tech space, we better be good at HR. So it's been a lot of fun, and yeah, so I'm the kind of crazy hybrid between sales and marketing and also internal culture here at TRAFFIT.
Nice. I never heard that before, which sounds amazing. So, but I know you guys do things a little bit different, but we'll dive deeper into that later. So let's get started. Look, obviously, this is a big problem, right? Losing candidates. I think if you talk to every recruiter, every HR, every talent acquisition, they're all obsessed with finding new and better candidates, right? But it's not just about finding new candidates, is it? There's also other options that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So because I love this topic even because it's actually double-sided, because we got tired of losing candidates, and I think a lot of people will think, yeah, you know what, I've got that candidate in my active process, and I lost them. Yeah, that's one element, but how many of us are losing candidates that we didn't hire 3 months ago, and we go to introduce them for a new role and they've ghosted us, they've disappeared? So we are losing candidates everywhere, and we don't need to. Hopefully, that's the goal for today.
Absolutely. Well, I think what you're mentioning is funny enough. What you mentioned is kind of what recruitment agencies do, right? Because recruitment agencies, they understand that, yes, the clients pay the bill, but it's the candidate value that equates to that bill, right? So obviously recruitment agencies got big database, they nurture the candidates, they keep in touch with them. I was a specialist recruiter, and I remember every 3 months I would ring through my market to find out at what point they were, right? And I believe you have a bit of a different approach to this from the internal talent acquisition perspective, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So I think like I've got a couple of ideas on that, which is one, yes, recruitment agencies have actually done this because they realized from the very beginning that one of their biggest costs is acquiring the new candidate. So once I've acquired one, I want to keep it and squeeze the juice out of it and keep them even after I've placed them. And that makes sense, right? I mean, the data showed in 2021 that the cost per candidate acquisition now was $28. And that's actually rose 50% from the year before only. So we've seen a big jump in the cost of acquiring candidates. But the other thing as well is
Sorry, Mick, to clarify, that's the candidates just acquiring a CV, not an actual hire.
Exactly. Right? Application, $28 per application. And that was 2021.
That's a lot.
2021. So yeah, exactly. So one thing is that what I want to talk about today is I'd love to question what we think even agencies class as nurturing, which is that 3-month phone call. Is it really nurturing? Is there things we can do? But now, as with most industries, internal HR, we're going to have to learn from this. And they're also going to have to start nurturing because we are wasting too much. It's becoming too competitive, too expensive, and slowly, more than ever, HR budgets are starting to be questioned internally. Like before, they were under the radar. Sales and marketing were spending so much money anyway, and suddenly CEOs are going, "Whoa, we spend this much on candidate acquisition, application acquisition. Why?" And we don't have the answer. So the market is being moved into a nice, exciting new place.
It's actually, I think, unfortunately, it's going to become, I personally believe, a bit harder for agencies, because I believe agencies are getting paid a lot, right? But that's because the market is so incredibly competitive. So and also, let's be honest, I was a recruiter for 9 years, managing recruiters. It's a horrible job at times, you know. Like you face a lot of rejections, etc. So obviously we are heading in a new direction. And you specifically mentioned about taking some of these initiatives, ideas, and kind of applying them to the nurturing. So what exactly would that mean for let's say I'm a talent acquisition person that wants to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I'm, as I said to you, like, I like this role because I'm stealing ideas from sales and marketing, stealing them. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there's that little delay. And then, like, so one of the big topics I love lately is USP, unique selling point, right? We need to apply this in all recruitment, talent acquisitions with sugar on top. Like, and I've always said this, that yes, the number one reason why people change the job is salary. But we have to remember that there are multiple numbers underneath. One, I did this recently. One was a very boring daily cycle was one of the reasons people change. On the lack of development, culture mismatch. And what I said to recruiters was, do you think you're good at one of these? Like, do you think that you're really good? And do you think that you have the top salaries? And so many people said, we don't probably pay the most money, but I really believe in our culture or our development. And I was like, that has to be your point. When you're reaching out to candidates, when you're nurturing candidates, culture, 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 this is why we're better. And you know, really nail down your like uniqueness or what you are best at. And what you probably find, or what I found in recruitment, what we do, because we haven't learned this skill yet, we throw all of our values at the same time. We have competitive salary, lots of time off, we have great culture, we have a ping pong table, we do this, and we throw them all. And what we don't realize is that that's actually confusing for candidates, because they get too confused with, they want to know what you're the best at. And that's a really nice way of nurturing people and pulling them into the thing that you feel really strong as a business.
I always tell this whenever I'm sales training someone. The difference between anything and nothing is very limited. It's like 2 words, right? So if you're good at everything, you're also telling the person you're good at nothing. Don't get me wrong. Maybe if you're Google, that does apply, right? But how many Googles are on the planet, and what happens to everyone else that's recruiting, right?
And if you're playing the game that the only real talent acquisition thing you have is salary, you're always going to be, you're going to have a hard few years, because people are always going to be attacking your employees with better salaries, with higher salaries, and that's a lot of work on your place. And then the second element here, which I talk a lot about, which is, I steal it again, which is ideal. We used to have like ideal customer, right? Ideal customer persona in sales, ICP. And I've stole this an ideal candidate persona. And I give you a prime example of this. I love this, which is, you don't have to make every potential candidate happy. Focus on making the candidates happy who you actually want to hire. And I always use this as an example as, I don't know if you, 5 years ago, the cool job titles phase, social media ninja, customer success heroes, and stuff. And there are companies that stopped doing that because the market said, oh, this is so cheesy. And I thought to myself, if your culture is that, calling someone a social media hero works for your culture, and the person who you would like to hire should be someone that looks at that title and says, I like that, keep it. You do not have to have a job title or values that appeal to everyone. Like, narrow down. And this is the reason why I love this one, is because a lot of recruiters are overworked, overstimulated, like they've got too much on their plate. And I actually explain that if you narrow down your candidate profile, you're going to create time for yourself, because you're going to start turning candidates off at the first instance because the job description doesn't appeal to them. And that's actually a good thing, because then you're not verifying those candidates, interviewing those candidates to find out that they're the wrong people in the end anyway. So narrowing should actually give you a little bit more capacity.
Like, look, what you're mentioning obviously is music to my ears, because I'm an ex-recruiter and I work in sales, right? So it makes so much sense from so many perspectives. I do have a difficult question I want to ask on this, if I can. How are recruiters or talent acquisition people take into this? Because I know a lot of people work in talent acquisition and they really don't like the idea of selling, right? They feel it's wrong and ethical. So how are they taking to these tactics, basically?
So yeah, I mean, that's why like the big message I want to give to people is like I believe recruiters and talent acquisition people actually are better off by doing this because again,
of course,
a lot of the feeling of selling, you know what, in my sales experience, the worst feeling I get from selling is when I'm trying to sell my product to someone who doesn't need it.
True.
And you know
100%.
that knocking on the door like I did when I was 17 years old. And yes, when they opened the door and someone was like, "Oh, actually, I'm interested," and they didn't buy, that wasn't actually the painful experience for me. The painful experience for me was the person that slammed the door in my face, stopped bothering me because it was there was no targeting, no value proposition involved.
Of course.
So when we start talking to candidates and pitching the value that they're missing, which is, hey, listen, you're midway through your career. What my company offers you is this level of transparency, this level of micromanagement that you're trying to avoid, this level of development. And they go, actually, you know what? That's actually what I'm missing. I can't change the job today, but I really like what you did. I really like the conversation. That pain will flow away. You will not feel like you are selling. It's not easy. I'm not going to paint the picture that it always works that way, but I guarantee that the more you stop trying to recruit people who don't want to be recruited and learn how to find them, look at the way that and identify them, you won't feel like you're selling. That's my honest pitch is you won't feel like you're selling so much.
No, look, this makes a lot of sense. And I think, and also to be honest, if it is a bit uncomfortable, that's okay. Because it's part of learning, right? You learn a new skill and you move into the next level. But there's one part that I know that you are a good advocate for that I would like you to talk a little bit about, because this is already a lot of value, I think. But what about the nurturing? So can you explain a bit the logic around that, and how is it that you would think you can keep good candidates basically in your network?
Oh, you know that I'm going to get excited about this topic. So yeah, so basically the funny thing is that recruiters think that they don't sell, which I get, right? And they don't like that feeling. And I looked at recruitment when I joined this space and said, I think you have way harder job than salespeople. Why? Because in sales, we get 99 rejections for every one sale, right? But we have a lot of control over what a rejection is. So someone said, I'm not buying, and you go, okay, I'm going to put them in for next week or the week after. And then in recruitment, you are giving one candidate successful information, you got the job, and you're giving out 29, 39, 49. I'm sorry, we're not going to hire you. And that's a lot of emotional baggage, right? And I think that's a lot, that's really tough. And so it made me start to come to this concept of, I think that recruitment is one of the most wasteful elements of a business, and not on purpose, because we spend a lot of time, money, and effort acquiring 30, 40 candidates for our roles because our hiring managers love to have more candidates. We hire one and we throw the rest in the trash. And some companies, like talent agencies and stuff, what they've been good at is taking them and not throwing them in the trash and keeping them in the database, but doing nothing with them. And then what happens is you've got the new role 3 months, 6 months later, you go, hey, candidate, I know we didn't have a right fit for that role. Are you interested? And you know what the candidate says? Sorry, who are you? we haven't built anything, right? But the big positive here is we did some studies at TRAFFIT, which was 92% of candidate rejections in a recruitment process from either side, candidate rejecting or employer, are time-relevant rejections. Not enough experience. This is fixed over time. In difference in salary expectations, this changes over time. People value different things. Location, job title, structure, all as we can all reflect to this. When I was 21, I wanted more money. When I was 31, I wanted more responsibility. I wanted this. So 92% of the people we reject are hireable in the future. 8 are the only that category, like, that's never going to work. We just have too big a difference here. So we shouldn't throw them away. We should keep them, but let's not store them and make them feel like an email address in a database. we should build our brand and connection with them, because what I want to say about this is that someone applied for a job, they didn't get it. 6 months later, 12 months later, they're changing the job. What I want to do is I want them to go, I always wanted to work at TRAFFIT. I always wanted to work at TRAFFIT. So we built and we stole all those ideas from sales and marketing on how to create that scenario. It's not that difficult. And that's the thing I'd love to share with recruiters, that a lot of people will go, yeah, but time, money, effort. I promise you, the great thing is marketing companies, marketing solutions, marketing products, they've been making this easier for you for 10 years because they've been smoothing themselves out for the marketers. So we've missed the learning curve. We can jump in now, and all these nice newsletter creating tools, they are all built to help you write a newsletter in 5 minutes. They've already perfected this. 10 years ago, it was horrible. I promise, I remember. So the nice thing is that we can nurture them, and because it's still so unique, you are standing out in the employment crowd from the other recruiters.
And I think also from this, it's not even just about standing out. It's also that these people will talk about it, right? They might refer other people. They might, and again, look, let's be honest, because obviously from the studies, 8% is unsuitable, but there will be some that the line managers just didn't like, right? And if you present them again in 2 years, they're still not going to like them. But the line manager is going to change, right?
Exactly.
The company is going to change, the mission, the investors, the technology that they use, so many things could change, right? So basically, to kind of sum up, is the logic of, if you can build a low cost, low time structure that will nurture those candidates and basically build a brand for you, then you actually find yourself that the longer you're in the market, the lower your cost of candidate acquisition goes.
I mean, lower cost and higher quality candidate in a lot of cases. Because we know the studies show here in the Polish market, where we are like strong, the higher value a candidate becomes in experience and knowledge, the less they are going to look for a job. Jobs are going to come to them. They're going to start to be sourced and etc. So we can't rely on every 12 months posting the job ad, etc. But the second thing as well is, there's a study now that highly qualified candidates are on the job market for 10 days before they receive an offer. So from them going, you know what, it's time for me to think about a change, 10 days later, they will have a job offer in their hand. I'm not saying that they accept it, but they will be offered a job. So what that means as well is that if in your situation today, in your business, your average time to hire is 35 days, you are really, you're playing this game with one hand behind your back. And that's not fair on you. So if you nurture candidates, and what we do at TRAFFIT, when we are hiring, we go to our talent pool first. We say, hey, to the people who are in that category, that segment, we are hiring in your segment. Are you interested? That's step one. So that means we have faster time. Second one, we don't have to build the trust with them because they know us. So that speeds it up. And then the big one that is probably undervalued is, we bring them in where they left last time. So if somebody got to interview, so we did the verification skill assessment and they got to interview and we didn't find a fit, I'm not sending them in through the front door again. I'm like, hey, listen, though, would you be up for another interview? Let's talk. And my time to hire can be 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. It just changes the game a little bit that way.
It does. Okay. Now, look, I think you put a lot of very interesting ideas, and I actually want to move to the next stage, just because I'm worried you're going to give information overload, and then your phone won't stop ringing. You know, everyone asking you for more help. So I don't want to give you that much publicity just yet. So look, obviously the second part is kind of talking about the HR tech struggle, right? So the question I usually like to ask is, what are the 3 biggest lessons that you learned by working in the HR tech? Well, I mean, obviously rising from quite a small to now a well past startup stage, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to compare to, I used to sell like marketing tech. And the first thing I found was one of the struggles was the HR industry doesn't have as much purchasing confidence as other departments. And this and the easiest way I describe this is in my previous company, I would talk to a potential customer and they would say, I've got problem ABC. And I would say, okay, I can solve ABC, let me show you. And they would say, great, Mick, here's my credit card. And they would become a customer. And when I joined the HR tech space, what I realized is the company would say, I've got problem ABC. I'd say, okay, solution ABC. And they'd be, okay, Mick, I'll come back to you in a month. We need time to think. We're going to check your competitors now. I need to talk internally. The decision-making was, and when from my very humble little bit of experience, we just learned that heads of sales, heads of marketing, they are making software purchasing decisions 5, 6 times a year, 7 times a year.
And they do it like this.
And in HR, it's not that, like in our space, TRAFFIT is quite affordable. So it's not the fear of the cost. It's just the fact that I haven't done this before. It's I'm not, and the fear that if I buy the wrong tool, I'm going to be reprimanded. And sales and marketers, they're just not focused on that element of it. So
yeah, they just don't have to care, right? It's just not. This one thing I found in HR a lot is that they just don't have the power that sales and marketing, and sometimes, as you said, the confidence to just make the decision without knowing. They're thinking, I'm a cross-functional function. I made this decision. It's going to affect a lot of different people, and then I'm going to get blamed for it. And it's a very different ball game to play.
The second part of that is that the upside isn't there. When you buy a tool in sales goes up. It's everybody's patting you on the back. Great job. If you buy a tool in HR and you improve the time to hire by 4%, or you close 17% more roles that year, you're not getting the same accolade. But if you make it worse, you're facing the risk. This is also, it's not just HR confidence. There is also organizational. We don't celebrate enough the analytics of HR as well. So the upside doesn't seem as like sunny as downside, where in sales and marketing it was.
Although on this, talking to a lot of companies in HR tech, I think that given the type of tools and technology that's coming out, we're likely to soon have that quality of data to say, no, hang on a second. Well, they boosted this, they done that, etc., and then it'll be easier to reward them as well, I think.
I mean, yeah, this is what, like, so we were talking a second ago about the cost of candidates going up to $28 and being like, holy, that's really scary. We need to adapt, which is true. But what I'm teaching my recruiters is, if you've got a candidate database of 1,000 candidates that you are nurturing, you are now sitting on that as a value proposition. So you take 28 times 1,000 and you can go to your boss, I'm nurturing $28,000 worth of recruitment right now. Like that's my value. So hopefully we're going to flip that funnel, and HR are going to be seen as like a value nurturer rather than a spender. But yeah, it's coming. And it's nice because it's going to come from both sides. Recruiters want to learn. They're a little bit afraid of data, by the way. I think recruiters are a little bit afraid that data is going to show them up. In most cases, it doesn't. But CEOs are going to push this from the top down. They're going to start to want to know how the money is being spent and so on.
But actually, to add to your point, probably one of the best talent acquisition people I've ever met was working for a clinical research organization. And we're talking about a very big one, a very large one. And he managed to get recruitment costs down to 0 because he basically built an agency internally. He just had the database well kept, keeping in touch with candidates, inviting them to events, etc. And then people just want to work with them, right? So that's obviously the step.
I've got 2 things now, which is yes. One is that I believe we can build a situation that I want to start recommending to my talent pool jobs from other companies. That sounds crazy. But if someone applies for a marketing job and I can't hire him today, or she didn't get the role, I want to be able to say that here are 4 companies that I value and I know they're similar to TRAFFIT. Can I introduce you to them and their roles? I can get a referral fee. And I have a good candidate experience. And the last one, we don't think about candidates as potential future customers. And this is something that I'm also looking at right now, which is They go into other companies, and if they had a good experience with you, they might buy the product. So there's lots of nice value that HR can grab onto.
Well, it's also the fact that if you recommend me to my new job, the next time I'm looking for a job, I'm going to come to you, right?
Thank you. This is what I said. Like, if you give a candidate good feedback rejection, they will like you and they will remember you for a while. If you help them find their next job, they will remember you forever. And they will always have in the back of their mind, like, I want to go back to that company one day because they did what I didn't expect them to do. So yeah. Like, there's a lot of value in that. I totally think so.
Great. So look, let's then just jump directly in the last part, because we've been talking quite a lot already. And
Sure.
So what is, first of all, give us a little bit of an idea about TRAFFIT, right? So what have you guys achieved so far? What is it? Why are you proud to work for TRAFFIT? Maybe is the best question to ask.
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay, so yeah, so like fundamentally, TRAFFIT is an applicant tracking system, recruitment, CRM, however we want to talk about it. And like, I'm a big believer in the fact that technologically wise, ATSs are always going to compete with each other. Yeah, someone will create a feature a year later, and we do our best. Where am I proud? Because we decided to be different. And what I mean by that is, if you go to the majority of ATSs, a lot of their value propositions is, we help you gather new candidates, we help you get applications, which is not wrong. What we say is, we are going to be candidate orientated. What we want to do is, we want to give the best candidate experience for the candidate. I want to create an ecosystem where a candidate will go to a recruiter and say, you don't use TRAFFIT?
Right.
It's a long strategy. It's the long strategy. But we look and we were like, that's where people are not playing. That's where people are not playing the game. So we like that. I'm really proud of the fact that we generate in TRAFFIT right now, we generate 55 passive candidates a month. That means that a TRAFFIT we have on our website, TRAFFIT Future Stars, which is passive applications. And we get 55 a month for free without any expense, because we've just really gone after, we get candidates every day saying, like, we'd like to work for you, like for you. So I'm really proud of that element. Like, we are focusing a lot on candidates getting good emails, good, like, well-designed application forms, and of course enabling the recruiters. That's the key here. But I'm proud of the fact that we decided to be risky and say, you know what, if we focus enough on the candidate being happy, recruiters will be happy by default, because they'll be filling the positions. And that's where we went.
Understood. So if I understand it correctly, then it's not really about the ATS per se, which I'll be honest, there are so many of them, obviously, right? So obviously there is always quite difficult to understand what's so different about you. It's more about the overall, also you kind of consulting the client on how to cut their future recruitment costs, and how to, well, actually more than cut their costs, how to improve their candidate branding, really.
Yeah, so like, I always think about it this way. If someone is using the ATS perfectly and they can't close roles, they will resign from the ATS eventually. Now, if I can give somebody an ATS, that doesn't have to be the #1 ATS technically on the planet, but we back that up by saying, here's some really good ideas about how to be a recruiter. Here's the top information about, here's how you can change your job description. I think you could go out and you've got 12 candidates in your pool that are still qualified for this job. That's what they will remember TRAFFIT for. So we want to not be an agency per se, but I want to help recruiters recruit. And the tool is the tool. You've all experienced ATSs. They are not easy to love. I don't think that we're in a different category, but I want you to remember that we helped you recruit. And that means that by default, every day we are thinking like recruiters, not like HR tech professionals. And we have to keep our finger on the pulse. And I like, it's a long game, but I like it. I like this approach. And it's nice not to, we don't squeeze every dollar. We play the long game, and it's cool. I like it.
Good. I mean, look, I think, Mickey, your energy and the way you handle this, obviously, it's quite obvious that you guys are not only trying to do something different, but that you are genuinely bought into the idea, right? Which is, I think, what is, I don't want to quote Simon Sinek because I don't like him too much, but at the same time, you know, you gave a very clear why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what, it is, we have to find a balance, because if you go totally candidate centric, you might end up alienating recruiters. So we are constantly trying to help, because recruitment always blew my mind. That when I started in the industry, and I was really not hate. I hired some people in formal companies, but I was probably really bad. And I interviewed candidates and I interviewed recruiters to try to learn how traffic could be better. And the outstanding thing that I found was that majority of candidates don't like looking for a job and being in recruitment. They find it stressful, nervous, and companies hiring and hiring managers find it stressful, and it's not their favorite thing to do as well. So I was like, if we've got a process that both sides are feeling uncomfortable, we can fix this. Like there's so much room, and the room for solution is not another feature. It's talking about connecting those sides together. So there you go. That's how it looks for me.
No, it's a very good outlook, I think, and you're right. There's a lot of pain, and it's good that there are players like yourself that are trying to fix this, basically.
Everyone's getting better. Everyone's getting better. We just have a little bit of a time delay, but we're getting there, I think.
True, true. And that's the beautiful thing about capitalism, right? If there's a problem, someone will be paid to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing is that the industry is being moved like a tectonic plate as well. So yes, someone like a player like TRAFFIT is going out there and trying to do it, but fundamentally, candidates are getting more power in the scenario. They're feeling more confident. So as a whole, they are moving. The stories that are out on the market are also helping the industry mature and nurture. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the HR is also one of them. HR tech is one of the most turbulent places I've ever seen in terms of the market being hot one week, quiet the next week.
Yes.
It's very affected. It's super affected, and that's a crazy. And you know, since I joined TRAFFIT 3 years ago, my first week was COVID lockdown. We've had war breakout, and we've got economy challenges. So, and HR is, I feel for HR through the whole process, but it's getting better. We all just have a little bit more confidence that it's moving in the right direction.
True, true. Well, look, Mick, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast. And for all the listeners, I hope you enjoy this. There will be a link to Mick's company and LinkedIn, so please feel free to follow them. He also writes a lot of very good content that I think you would enjoy.
Yes, I talk a lot, as you've all experienced. So if you want to call me out on anything that I said or want me to explain it in more details, I guarantee I'll put time away for every single person that wants it. So feel free to grab me. And thanks so much for having me on the show. It's always nice to talk to like-minded people who are moving things forward. So it was a pleasure from my side.
It was my pleasure. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks.
Bye.